Hey everybody, it's Ian the Off Kilter Crafter. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're going to be making some great cards using your kids' artwork using some very cheap Crayola watercolors. It does not take much to take your kids' artwork and turn them into gorgeous cards. You'll just need your Cricut Explore machine and some markers. I ended up using some America Craft markers. I believe these are American Craft markers. They're permanent chalk markers after my Cricut pen died in the middle of cutting. You'll see that in the video. But let's go ahead and get started on how I put this card together. I'm going to be using some Artist Loft watercolor paper. This is artist level. I'm not a big fan of this paper. I'm going to be choosing another brand when I run out of this one. But since this is a kids project, you can use any kind of watercolor paper that you'd like. You can go to Michael's and get some on sale. I'd recommend getting some cheaper watercolor paper since this is not going to be a professional project. I cut my watercolor paper to 5.5 by 5.5 square, and I'm going to be using some Crayola watercolors. These are not expensive at all. They're under $2, I believe, when I was at Target. Very, very cheap, inexpensive watercolors, and this was great for kids. It even comes with its own little brush. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use some clean water, and I'm going to just do a little bit of watercolor onto my square. I've now colored both of my panels, one kind of how I would imagine a child coloring it up, and one more like a color wheel. And now I'm going to use the Cricut Design Space app for Apple devices, and I have already gotten everything set up. I have my Happy Mother's Day. This is going to write. It was originally a card. It's in Cricut Access, so if you have Cricut Access, it is a free design for you. I took it off the card and put it onto just a regular panel. So that file I'll put in the description below, so that way you have access to it if you would like to just copy this file. It is a super easy one to put together. Let's go ahead and hit the green go button down in the corner. I'm going to replace the one that I was currently working on. I am going to change this so that there are two that cut and draw, or should I say draw and then cut, and it's going to change. That's fine. We want that to happen. I'm going to use SnapMat, and I'm going to position my camera over the mat and get a picture of it. After fidgeting around a little bit and getting them where I think they will work on my mat, I'm going to grab my panels that are going to draw and then cut. I'm going to bring them onto the two panels. One of them is going to be a very tight fit because I made it 5.5, which is how tall this is. So it should still work fine, but in future you may want to make it a little bit bigger so that way this panel fits on nice. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue and connect to my Cricut Explore Air and start cutting. I'm going to put a Cricut medium tip pen into the accessory side of my Cricut Explore Air, just like so, and then I'm also using the regular blade housing. You do not need to use a deep cut blade. This is just going to be some watercolor paper. You don't need to use that deep cut blade. However, I am going to turn the dial to poster board just to make sure that everything cuts out nice and neatly. I'm noticing that here in some areas the pen did not make it to the surface of the paper because it was probably warped a little bit. I'm going to switch to a permanent chalk marker. This one is from American Crafts, I believe. America Crafts, something like that. And I'm going to pop it in. Luckily enough, these fit exactly like the Cricut Explore markers. So I'm going to go ahead and not eject. I'm going to go ahead and hit the go button. It's going to do everything all over again. I don't want to eject my mat, because if I eject my mat, that means it will not work in the same spot. It'll actually change the layout. Now that I have everything cut out, it's going to be easy to just fold over my mat and pull these off the mat. I don't think you have to use a strong grip mat, but I wanted to today just to make sure that these panels did not move around. Sometimes watercolor paper is going to be a little bit harder to cut through, and I really wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be moving around as my Cricut tried to cut it out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Tombow Extreme adhesive in this tape runner. I'm going to apply it to the back of my Happy Mother's Day card front, and then I'm going to glue it down onto some Neenah Solar White 110 pound cardstock. That is my favorite cardstock to use. As many of you who have watched my channel before know, this is what I use for all my card bases. Now to add a little pizzazz to it, I'm going to use some of these iridescent sequins and apply them randomly across the front. And just like that, you can use your kids' artwork to create a stunning card. You can really use your imagination and go wild, especially if you have the Cricut Access account like I do. There are so many different images that would translate very well. If you change them from cutting into drawing, you can really get some great effects. The possibilities are truly endless. And for you dads who may be watching this video, there is a great tutorial on how to use the Cricut Explore machines. You can check that out over in the iCards. I'm going to put it up there and link over to Melody Lane's video on how everything in Cricut Design Space works. Or you could ask your wife. I'm sure your wife would enjoy teaching you how to use Cricut Design Space. Alright guys, I think that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that you liked my video, and then hopefully we'll share it across YouTube land. Also, if you're not already, hit that button down below that says subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and get great updates every time I post a new video. You can also follow me on my social media links. All of those are listed down in the description below. They include Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, so much more. Check them all out. I hope everybody has a great day, and remember guys, keep it off kilter. Bye!